Thanks everybody for joining us, especially those joining on the recording. Really appreciate you being here. And there it goes. Okay. So Frank, who is an amazing volunteer here at March on Harrisburg, is going to go ahead and kick things off with this event. Introduce yourself, Frank. I'll turn the reins over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Frank Kirkwood. I am in Pittsburgh, and I've been doing research with March on Harrisburg, first slowly and then more intensively for the last 7 or 8 years now. And I've been collecting what I learned along the way into a document, and we'll link to the document later. But the slideshow here is kind of a visual representation of that. So let's get rolling. How to research your legislators, presented by March on Harrisburg. Next, please. There we go. First, a little bit about March on Harrisburg. We are a nonpartisan, statewide, volunteer-driven organization. We work on anti-corruption and pro-democracy issues. You can see on the map there that we have 4 chapters, and we'd encourage you to get involved with one of our chapters wherever you live. March on Harrisburg is not just a metaphor. We actually march. We've done 4 marches already, 2 from Philly to Harrisburg, and let's see, 1 from York, 1 from Lancaster, and we're doing another one from Lancaster in September. And our typical thing is that we march for, in case the Philadelphia marches, we march for like 10 days, and then we do some actions in the Capitol. And that is our plan for this September also. Next. So broadly speaking, what we want and what we push for is money out and people in. And broadly explained, it would be that where now we have the influence of a lot of money pushing public policy and pushing our elections, we want to replace that with people. We want to have publicly funded elections with a system of democracy dollars, such as they have in Seattle, where every voter, every citizen gets 4 $25 certificates, and they can give them to the candidates of their choice. And so you have an alignment between the contributors and the voters. We want to place some limits on campaign contribution. Is something we do not have in Pennsylvania, unbelievably. We also want to shine a light on dark money. We want to stop the what we call the lowest hanging rotten fruit on the money and politics tree, which is the gift culture in Harrisburg, whereby lobbyists who want something from the state government befriend and bedazzle the legislators with gifts and golf outings and vacations, etc. We want to expose that and end it. And other money out things that by way of people in, we want to make it easier for people to register and to vote. We want to expand vote by mail, early voting, automatic voter registration. You'll see there's a whole list of changes that we've been advocating for, and had some success getting some of them already. Next. So in addition to our chapters, we also have working groups that work statewide. Here are 4 of the big ones, although we have some smaller subgroups too. The legislative team, we meet on Fridays. We talk about policies. We talk about writing bills, amending bills, lobbying in Harrisburg, visiting with the legislators, talking about which legislators can potentially be allies, which ones can potentially not be trusted. All the things that you do when you try to interact with the legislature. We have a ranked choice voting team. We have calls every other Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the evening, and we push ranked choice voting in the state. We've been successful in getting legislation introduced for ranked choice voting to be used at the city and county borough level if the voters in those districts want to have ranked choice voting. We also have a social media and communications team, do a lot of creation, graphic creation, TikToks, letters to the editor, Instagram, we call it X, all that stuff. And so there's lots of opportunities. People are interested in being creative there, and even in promoting some of the things that we put out. And it's really a very successful operation. We're very happy with the results. Pennsylvania Action on Climate, which is a climate-oriented group working in coalition with other groups and bringing forward the connection between the corruption of the political system, that is the money that is in it, to get it out, and the way it affects climate change and really the enormous power the fossil fuel industry has to prevent change in Harrisburg and Washington. Now, one of the useful things that can be done with research, and depending on what you're interested in, you can do it, about a particular candidate, or and this is sort of what we're focusing on tonight, is talking about how you can do research on individual candidates or office holders. This is a narrative that we developed out of some research that Marcy Hensey, who's on the call tonight, and I did about Governor Shapiro and the amount of fossil fuel money that flowed into his campaign by way of the Democratic Governors Association, which is this curious vehicle by which people all over the country can give unlimited amounts of money that can then be given to governor candidates. And the original source of the funds is effectively hidden. So out of that, you can create a narrative, which we did in this document, talking about trying to explain what the governor does and what's perhaps behind many of the decisions that he makes. So there's a link in there somewhere, and I recommend that you take a look at it, and you can see some of the things that research can produce. Yeah, well, let's go on to the next one then.
Yeah, and just to add for everybody, a PDF version of this slideshow will be available after the recording is over.
Yeah, and you should have links in there too that you can go through this. A lot of this is going to go. There's a lot here, and it's probably going to be a little fast for everybody, including me. So to do the research, a lot of times you'll need to go back and read the instructions, which we'll make available. And so the things that you see may seem to be flying by, but if you go back and go through the written instructions, you'll probably be all right. And if you're not all right, we're available to answer questions. Of, if you get stuck on something or you don't recall, glad to do it. Outline. So tonight we're going to talk about how to find your legislator and learn more about them on the PA state website, how to find information about your legislator through campaign contributions and statements of financial interest. Those are two recurring documents that elected officials and also candidates need to file, and much can be learned from them. And how to piece together the power structure through social media research, lobbying disclosures, and nonprofit explorer tools. And we'll see more about that in a little bit. So researching your legislator. And in small print, see here for more detailed written instructions and links to other resources. So that would be the document that you would want to go to get a little more detail that you can read at your own speed.
And that's the one in the chat right now from Jeff just a few minutes ago.
Oh,
Thanks,
great.
Jeff.
So on the very basic level, who is your legislator? The General Assembly has a website that we could probably spend half an hour talking about, but we won't. that allows you to see information about your legislator, about all the legislators, about bills, about the wording of the bills, the progress of the bills, any votes that have been taken on the bills. But for right now, we're looking at the main page. You can go there, find my legislator about halfway down in the left column there. And what you do is you enter your address, and the site will spit out the name of your state senator, your state House member, and also your member of Congress. I think that's on the next slide there. And complete with a map of the district and the district number. We're just going to be talking about the PA House and PA Senate today. The U.S. House, your congressperson, is in a very different system as far as campaign finance reporting, that sort of thing. We're talking here about the State House, State Senate. For instance, this is Senator Gene Yaw, and this is the front, the top of his page. It'll show you for all of the legislators, their district, when their term expires, when the committee assignments. Senator Yaw is the Environmental Resources and Energy Chair. He's the Vice Chair of the Judiciary Committee, a member of several other committees. Below that, you'll see a place where you can link to bills that he has co-sponsored. Typically, that would mean that someone else has written the bill or introduced the bill. And below that yet is sponsored legislation, which typically is legislation that individual or that individual in combination with another senator or another rep have introduced. And those are sort of more telling of about what the representative is about when you look at their sponsored legislation. A little distance is provided when they're co-sponsors, in that they agree with the bill is pretty much what it says. But if they're the main sponsor, then they're the actor behind it. They're pushing for it. They may well have had a hand in writing it, and they're busy collecting allies to help pass it. There's a note here. If you go in to visit your legislator, you might want to now, if you're talking about March on Harrisburg priorities, and there are a number of bills that we would like to see move. It's helpful to look through the sponsored legislation, even the co-sponsored stuff, to see, even if they're not a sponsor of a bill that you would support, whether having to do with March on Harrisburg or whatever bill you're advocating for. If there's a bill that's similar, be aware of that, and talk to them about the bill that they're in favor of, and say, well, the bill we're pushing isn't quite like that, but it's a little different, but it's not that different. Would you consider this angle on it? So it's useful to do your homework ahead of meeting with the legislator. And it's also useful to have a little biographical information about them in order to connect with them, kind of where they are. A few years ago, we had a chair of the State Government Committee who was an Air Force officer career. And we were advocating to move the gift ban bill, a bill to stop gifts from lobbyists to legislators, totally unregulated now, and almost none of it's reported. We had a bill that we wanted to do that. And so we looked up what are the rules for Air Force officers as far as accepting gifts. And of course, they're not allowed to take gifts. And there's lots of good reasons that are laid out for Air Force officers. And we say, well, this is pretty much the same situation here in the state capitol. And, I think you might have seen our point. He did allow the bill to get voted on, and it did pass unanimously, if I remember right, out of his committee. So again, it's good to do your homework. So some of the homework you can do is on the pages that the Democratic Republican committees supply, gives you a little bio. It's of course pretty favorable interpretation of the legislator. Plain old Google is a another place where you can look up the legislator. If you read through the returns, you'll eventually find some interesting things, probably stories, controversies, things that they've been involved in. You can also on the Google search, you can search news about that person, and a lot of times that'll return recent things that they've been involved in, and it gives you a sense of who they are. Let's see. Well, another way to learn about them is through a website called Ballotpedia, which gives you sort of an abbreviated history of candidates, including the elections they've recently been involved in, who they ran against, what the vote total was, and that goes back historically for, well, I guess for some of the veteran legislators, it'll go back as far as they've been in office. It'll give you a little bit a short synopsis of who their biggest contributors were, and what their biggest expenditures of their campaign were. Not a complete list, but a taste of it. And it also has some of the legislation that the legislator has sponsored will be listed there too. So it's kind of the short version, but it's worth looking at. So for more detail on the money, we have several things that we can look at. The first one is the.
I want to pause here and just make sure if anybody has any questions. I know that was kind of a lot all at once. If you want to put those in the chat, or you can unmute right now for a second and go ahead and ask those. Like Frank said earlier, it is kind of a lot of information, and you should expect to get it all straight away. But hopefully, this could be this call and the recording can be a good tool for you later.
Yeah, once I start talking, I get going. Well, anyway, okay, so let's see about following the money. There's two sites for campaign contributions that I want to highlight, and also and then we'll look at a third item. So in order to find out where candidates get their campaign money, we can look at the reports that the candidates have to file with the state, with the Pennsylvania Department of State, about their elections. And I think I'm going to screen share now. Is that right? And let's see here.
And if you want to follow along, I think that this one's a good one to follow along on. We're happy to answer questions as well.
Yeah, now this is, folks, if you want to look, if you have a legislator in mind and you want to follow along by looking them up as I demonstrate how to look them up, let's see. I think is that number in the chat there?
It is.
The
link is in the chat. Yeah, the
link's
in the chat.
Okay, so if you want to grab that link and open up a page, I can show you, and you can do as we go along, how to look up, one of the ways to look up campaign finance information. And again, this is the Department of State page. And I looked at 2022 for one of the more contested state Senate races, and a fellow named Jarrett Coleman was the winner there. So I thought maybe we'd look at his page because there was a fair amount of money that went through there. So the way you do it is, if you're doing it along at home there, if you have the last name of the candidate or the legislator, you can put that in the box there. And usually what I do when I'm doing this is I click the first one for reports. You can do just contributions, just contributions that the candidate made to other candidates, just the way they spent money, just what debt they have. You can choose those, but I usually just go for everything, and then sort of cut back onto what I'm actually looking for. But there may be better ways to do it. I also, down here, I clicked all years. So for the candidate, it'll show all the reports that he or she has filed. And I click all under election type, so it's the primaries and the generals. And then under report cycles, I clicked all cycles. So with just the last name in there, I'm going to hit the search button. And you'll see that we got a lot of Colemans. So this is actually a little different than what I was looking at before, but that's fine. We're looking at the year 2022. That was the election. Now here's a Coleman who I don't remember, apparently ran for lieutenant governor. So that's not who we're talking about. This is the one we're looking for, Jarrett Coleman. Now, what's interesting about this is that if you look, well, this is not his actual committee. This is just a filing that he did for he himself. The one you're looking for here, as it turns out, is Patriots for Coleman. And again, we're talking about 2022. He's a senator in the General Assembly. And if you just want to check to see, is this the right Jarrett Coleman, you can click on that and it shows his full name. But what we want, there we go. What we want here is the report for Patriots for Coleman. And you can see in this case, he filed 6 different reports for the year 2022. And I'm going to click here on annual totals, and this summarizes, it also returns 2023. But for 2022, just this part down here we look at, you can see well, it's 5 reports plus the total, I guess is how they count it. You can see the 5 different periods of time that they have to report. And if you can see, the biggest money here is in the 5th reporting period. So I'm going to click on that and we can get a look at what was going on there. There we go. So this is in this case, a 33-page report, and it covers the 5th period, which is the dates covered here are between September 20 and October 24 of 2022. And at the top here, it gives you a summary of the report. And I'm going to just skip that and go down to some of the actual sections in the report. This is also a summary here. So this in part A here, this is contributions between 50 and 250 from political committees. And PPG-state, I'm not sure who or what that is, but that was the only contribution that fit in that category. Part B here, all other contributions from 50 to 250, and these would be from individual people. And you can see the name of the contributor, where they're from. I've noticed on this one, unlike a lot of the reports, there's a lot of missing spaces here where they did not fill in all the information. But that's what they didn't do, including even the address for some of these people. But you can see the address and the amount of money, and again, that was for $50 to $250. Out of which, this is $1,700, which is like 1% of the total money involved here. That was in what I would call small contributions. Contributions from political committees. Now, this is a much bigger category, and these are for ones over $250. And you'll see this is money from Joe Pittman, is another senator, and he is now the majority leader in the Senate. One of the ways you become a majority leader in the Senate is by giving Senate candidates money. And in this case, Pittman gave $5,000 here, some more money here, another five here. Here's Volunteers for Argyle. That's another state senator who gave 5,000, another 2,500 here. As you go down here, you'll see that some of the biggest givers here are other politicians. Actually, I think all the ones up to this Building a Stronger Pennsylvania, which is a group of, we don't really know who they are, who gave $10,000. Citizens Alliance for PA PAC. You probably can find out who that is. $50,000. You see, so here comes this is where the bulk of the money is. In this, here's another Kristen Phillips Hills, also a senator, $10,000 from her account, and another 5,000. And that's what you find in that category, money coming in very often from other politicians. Other contributions over $250. The candidate himself gave $900. And this would be other individuals. Typically, they get asked for their employer name. But you can see here, a lot of them are not filling that in. And I don't know if the Department of State has any enforcement efforts to require them to report what they're required to report. But you can go down here and see the names of individuals. Sometimes, like here's a car dealer, probably in the district. Some of the places, some of these folks, there's just the occupation and the employer are left blank, which I usually that's not the case, or at least with a lot of the forms that I've seen over the years. So there you go. That goes through, and then on other things, refunds, interest, they got a refund of $34 from Staples. Now, in-kind contributions, this was an unusual report in that there was a significant amount of money in in-kind contributions. We can look down here a little more at that. I don't know what $65 there, but you get down here, Citizens Alliance, a PA, Political Action Committee, description of contribution mailers. So apparently this is a group that send out mailers in support of the candidate. Same here, it's not $100,000. The Senate Republican Campaign Committee, Senate Republican Campaign Committee again. Here's $250,000 from the Commonwealth Leaders Fund, which I think is a Jeffrey Yass organization. I could be wrong. Anyway, there's a lot of cable TV ads. I presume that's what that is, for $250,000. So very high number in that regard. So that's the money that was either spent for the candidate, like we saw there as in-kind contributions, or money given to the candidate's committee that then the campaign spent to get him elected. Now here's how they spent money. A lot of, you can see that's kind of self-explanatory, ream printing for printing a mailer, an attorney, a lit drop transport. I'm not sure what that is. But you can see here, Otter, legal GE. I don't know what that is, but I guess it's something to do with a lawyer. You can see a lot of these expenses are fairly small things, post office. And then let's see, here's a bigger one. Here's another printing bill. Here's another printing bill. And the Lehigh Country Club, they probably had a fundraiser.
And I think that should wrap up most of these pages here. Should be pretty similar, and we can move on to
Yeah. There's
the next
there'll
section
also
here.
be a statement of debts, who they borrowed money from. In this case, pretty significant amounts of money, $30,000 from this guy, $50,000 from a woman with the same last name. So it's a lot, but that's the stuff you can learn by going through the reports that they have to fill out and get posted on the Department of State website. The second way of finding this information is through a group called Follow the Money, which is also Open Secrets. They used to be two separate groups, now they're one. And they will provide the information in a different way, and depending on your purpose, it's probably more useful. And I'll just show you just briefly how you can do it. They have an ask, this is also in the written instructions, ask anything. And they have this set up here where you can ask anything. So I'm going to ask about a specific candidate. And in this case, it'll be Eugene, E-U-G-E-N-E, Yaw, who we, Emerson, yeah, that's his other name he goes by. And I'm going to ask for show me contributions to Eugene Yaw, contributions to, and then I'll hit go. And what this will do is give me this page. Again, this will be in the instructions, so you don't have to listen. You don't have to remember everything here. But we want to know this information about the contributor. And so what this will do is produce a list of anybody who's given money to Gene Yaw, Eugene Yaw, etc. It typically comes loaded in the amount, with the biggest amount at the top. In this case, this was money that he loaned to his campaign, and that over the years, his campaign paid back to him. So we had the, I think, uncomfortable, to say the least, situation where the candidate, the senator, was owed money by his campaign, and the way he got his money back in his bank account was by contributors giving money to the campaign, and the campaign giving money to him back into his bank account. Seems like a conflict there, fair to say. But you also, you can order this information by all these parameters along the top, including by employer, occupation. Again, some places, some of the people fill in the occupation and the employer, some don't. You can see here, this fellow Blaschak has given quite a bit of money to him over the years. I guess he owns a coal operation. You can sort by the type of contributor, but the specific business they're in, or the more general industry that they're in. And you can download this information so that you can have it on your computer, and you can sort it however you like. So that's the followthemoney.org site. And for the big picture stuff, this is pretty good. And just in terms of, produces it on a big spreadsheet, and it's a lot easier to look at. You can sort it by year. But with the state website, you get it in smaller chunks. They really could improve their website if they wanted to. But this is the bigger picture. So that's that.
Perfect. And then let's go over just briefly here the Ethics Commission here, that stuff, so we can be mindful of time as well.
Okay, how we go? Oh my goodness, it's like, okay, well, this is another important tool here, the Statement of Financial Interest. And I'm going to put in Eugene Yaw again. And we're going to submit it. So they have to, every year they have to file a statement of financial interest. And let's take a look at his from last year. In this case, it's usually just 2 pages, but he has a lot of financial interests. So it's 5 pages. But just briefly going through what you can learn from here is if their employment. So in this case, he's a state senator, but he's also a solicitor. And he works for the Loyalsock Township School District as a solicitor. So his occupation is senator attorney. It'll ask you, there's information about creditors to whom more than 6,500 is owed. I don't know, I think this is mostly about credit cards from the forms I've seen. He provides more information below about this item number 9. We'll check it again. Sources of income, and there's more information about that below too, includes McCormick Law Firm. So, you know, he's the chair of an important environmental committee, but he also works for this law firm that does work for the fracking industry. Number 11 and number 12 are about gifts. Gifts valued at 250 or more, transportation, lodging, or hospitality over 650, and he has checked none in both of these boxes. I don't know what gifts he has taken, if any, but I can tell you that the lobbyists and the legislators work together to obscure the amount of gifts that actually pass through. In separate reports, the legislators, the lobbyists have to report without naming the legislators that they gave $1.5 million in a typical year to legislators and their families in gifts. And the legislators report receiving 40,000 of that $1.5 million. So it's not a loophole. It's like the whole thing is one big loophole. Okay, so moving beyond that, I'll just take a look briefly at his attachments. These are groups that, these organizations that he owes more than $6,500 to. I have a hard time believing that that's actually the case. This is probably just a list of his credit cards that at any one time he might owe them more than that money. Who knows? He doesn't seem like he would be, living on credit cards. Just taking the whole form as a whole. Number 10 here are, I believe that's sources, direct or indirect sources of income of over $1,300. Some of these are investments, some of them are in gas. More are attached below. So, I mean, if you're looking for a conflict of interest, I think that's not hard to see one there. And it doesn't, the form doesn't require saying how much money you make from these other sources of income. As long as it's more than $1,300, you just have to name the source and not the amount. Number 13 here, I think, is other organizations, directorship, officer employments in any business. And these, I think, are typically voluntary board of directors sort of positions. These are other lists of other investments that he has. A lot of oil companies and the like. A lot of sort of general investments that are not specific to any industry. And more and more and more and more. So anyway, if you study on these, you can discover quite a bit that's going on. These are some more of his positions that he has on boards: Environmental Quality Board, Energy Development Authority. He's basically an advocate for fossil fuel industry interests in the legislature, and it shows by reading through his statement of financial interests. Everybody needs to file one of those, candidates included. Even if you don't win the election, you need to file that, and legislators have to file it too. Okay, I can quit screen sharing, I think.
That's great. Thank you so much for that overview there, Frank. Does anybody have any initial questions right now as I from Frank's presentation before I call mine up here? The chat if you'd like.
Yeah, again, I'll point out that it's all written down and you can go at it at your own speed. But we're trying to show generally how much where you can learn information. Also on the list of the document that I mentioned earlier, there's lots of other information and other places that you can look to see what you can find. But these are the two big ones: campaign contribution, statement of financial interests.
All right, so then thank you, Frank. So the next thing that we're gonna go on to here are independent expenditures. So those are super PACs and everything like that. These are ways that dark money, so groups that don't disclose their donors, like the NRA or the Chamber of Commerce, that's how they usually spend in our elections. And then also super PACs, who they are required to disclose their donors, but a lot of times it's just dark money groups spending there as well. So all those negative ad campaigns that you see, that's mostly done in independent expenditures. That's where the bulk of spending is in our elections. And then I will go to this link right here. And so what you're looking at right now is a filing on the state website by everybody who does makes an independent expenditure. So that's mostly spending for ads and mailers and text and call campaigns. So this is right now showing the 2024 election. Let's take a look back at 2020 because there was a lot of spending here in Pennsylvania, as I'm sure everybody here can remember. So you can go through on this website and you can see this is the name of the filer for the organization, but this here, name of organization, that's the key section right here. So you can see Alliance for a Better Pennsylvania, Americans for Prosperity, Commonwealth Communications. You can see all of these different groups. You know, you might recognize them from Every Town and Conservation Voters. You can see a bunch of unions on here as well. So let's just go, and this is something that most people wouldn't recognize, but this is called PACronym, and it's a big Democratic super PAC. So you can see that this is when the election was they were spending for. It was for the 2020 presidential election, or the fall election, November, and you can see where their address this group lives at in DC, not from Pennsylvania. See what email address they used to file for it. And then you can see the candidates that they supported. So in this case, they supported Shanna Danielson, George Scott, Anne Marie Mitchell. And you can see if they supported or opposed that candidate, who they were paying to do these, to make, you know, the ads and the text and other things like that. And then the purpose of that. So here you can see video and graphic production, website. We'll look at some other ones as well that can show you just, you know, TV ads and other things like that, and the date they made those expenditures and the amount as well. Sometimes these can be a little bit off because it's hand keyed in, so you need to be mindful of that. So if I'm trying to research this, what I'm going to do is go into just a regular Google tab, and I'm going to type in PACronym, and then usually Open Secrets is a great place to go. You could go on the Open Secrets website as well. I just find that this is a lot quicker. And so I can see right here, it says PAC profile. And so I'm going to click on that. And it says this committee is a super PAC. So that's how you can find out if it is just a different kind of nonprofit or if it is in fact a super PAC. And we can click on its full profile. And we see that it partially discloses its donors, which is pretty typical of super PACs. It has a liberal viewpoint, and it is a super PAC. And you can get some details on, you know, who they were spending for. They were mostly spending for Democrats and against Republicans. How much they spent. This is at the national level, not just in Pennsylvania. But really, who I'm going to look for are their donors. And you can see that people who work, because it says from individuals, people who work at these organizations like Comcast gave a total of $600,000. Then organizations themselves, you can see that here, Democracy PAC gave $2.75 million. So if I click on from organization, I can see this is now going to sort it by individuals, but here we go. You can see the biggest organizations, none of them were corporations here, but you can definitely see that these other dark money groups are essentially issue groups or trade groups are giving a pretty substantial amount of money here to this super PAC. And then we can also look back and see that Americans for Prosperity is a pretty big group, big spender here in Pennsylvania. And you can see that there are multiple pages of their spending. And we see that they're from Arlington, Virginia, not a Pennsylvania group. And that these are the candidates they supported. These are mostly state senators, John DeSanto, Scott Martin, Greg Rothman. And if we just look them up, or here actually, you can see this is for mail, postage, canvassing. So they're sending those paid canvassers to your door. And more of the same kind of thing there. So if you type in Americans for Prosperity, you can just type it in. This is just another way to find it. If you get conflicting information from Open Secrets or you just don't see it on there, you can find their website. And a lot of ways that you can find out what kind of group they are is you can click donate. And somewhere on here, it should show you that they are a 501c4 entity. So basically what that means is that they are a dark money group, and you will never be able to, or we won't be able to find out their donors very easily because they do not have to disclose them. So that takes care of, I think, how to use the independent expenditures sheet here. You can change, you can sort by all of these different bars here as well. And so that really leads us into our current research campaign here at MOH. We are working on House Bill 2433, which bans foreign influence corporations from spending in Pennsylvania elections, so spending through those independent expenditures that we just showed, and more. So our main work right now as researchers is to uncover how foreign influence corporate money flows into our elections. And we are putting out an all call. Anybody who would want to help with this research, that would be so welcome, and we would be so happy to have you here as well, helping us with this. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of the how we apply this research, and I think that that's kind of the coolest part.
Yeah,
So
if I could
ahead.
just add in, if I may, that
Yeah.
House Bill 2433 has passed the House.
Right.
We're really pleased to announce that, and we feel like we're making very big progress, and we hope and expect that the Senate will vote on this in the fall, but we're going to need to push them to do it.
Yeah, and this is just
you were probably just about to say that, weren't you?
I was about to, but thank you for getting to it. It's
So-
super helpful. No, you're all good. So we are going to need a lot of research to, help persuade these senators, especially in the Senate Republican leadership, to bring this to the floor. It is a super popular bill. More than 80% of Americans support this kind of legislation. And so I'm just going to give a brief overview of what we're fighting for here. So foreign influence corporations are corporations with greater than 1% individual foreign investment. So usually that is foreign billionaires and foreign governments. And they make up 98% of Fortune 500 companies, or 5% collective foreign ownership. These are not, individual immigrants. These are, for the most part, billionaires. You have to spend $19 billion to get 1% of Amazon stock. And so this would ban 98% of Fortune 500 companies from spending in our elections here in Pennsylvania. So it essentially bans these foreign influence corporations from giving to dark money groups like we investigated there, Americans for Prosperity, or super PACs, or ballot measures. And then that really can curb the influence of those foreign influence corporations to cause policy violence, like Frank was talking about with climate change and all other manners of social issues. And so these are just some ways that we can look at to find out if they're a foreign influence corporation. We go on to CNBC, it's pretty easy. You can just search for the group. But here's something that I think is going to be very helpful, whether you're researching with MarchOnHarrisburg or you are looking into other corporate connections to political corruption. So you can look through social media. A lot of mid-sized corporations that have foreign investment are following people that are important, like state senators and other people like that, and they're getting followed back. So it's easy to find connections that way. You can also search through lobbying disclosure records to see, who is hiring these lobbyists and what are these groups called, and are they making any independent expenditures, like we just went over. And then you can also go through tax documents and find connections between dark money groups, which you can do through ProPublica's nonprofit and 527. 527 means super PAC explorers. So, for example, here we found that State Senator Camera Bartolotta, who shows a lot of interest in energy and climate change fueling companies, is followed by one of these super PACs from, I believe it was the 2018 race, or dark money groups, pardon me. She follows them out of her personal account, and they follow her out of her personal account. So that's just one corruption connection that you can find. And you can also go through lobbying disclosure records. I can go back onto that site after we get through this little bit of the presentation if anybody's interested. I want to be mindful of everyone's time here. But you can essentially go to this website and you can just search through. I would suggest registrations by lobbying subject right here. And you can see, who was working in energy and natural resources this year, who was lobbying on behalf of those companies. And that can yield some really important information. And then ProPublica, I can also go back to this. This will be linked here. And this is a way that you can search for any nonprofit. That includes, the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center, one of the biggest medical organizations in the state of Pennsylvania. You can see who they're paying as their employees, how much they're paying them, how much they spend on lobbying, and things like that, which are very important for finding. Also, monetary grants between dark money groups is also important. A lot of groups are moving money around between each other, and you find the details of that through here. And the same can be done through for super PACs as well at this site. And I want to open it up to questions. I know that was kind of a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions? We're more than happy to answer them. You can go ahead and unmute or put it in the chat as well. Oops. The chat's not popping up for me. Oh, here we go. Okay. Well, if nobody has any questions, I just wanted to add, that's a good point, that one example of foreign influence corporations, one of the key things that we found from our research is that Aqua and Essential Utilities, so those that corporation is buying up municipal water supplies and jacking up the rates for consumers. And they are a foreign influence corporation. And so we were able to discover that and notice that they have been lobbying and using their corporate PAC to pay off our legislators and really just use the legislature to their own advantage and not the advantage of consumers. And that's why bills like this are so important, is to bring the people in and take that foreign influence corporate money out. And so if there aren't any extra questions, then we are going to go ahead and talk about what March on Harrisburg is doing and how you can join us both in our research efforts and in lobbying as well. So you can join the legislative team. We meet every Friday at noon. We do policy research. We set up lobbying meetings, like Frank was talking about earlier in the call. Everyone's welcome, regardless of your experience. We are always excited to have more people on our team, and you can join our research team as well that works with the legislative group. And so in Western Pennsylvania, in Westmoreland County, we are going to be doing community-powered billboarding. So putting a ton of pressure on Senator Kim Ward, who is the one who ultimately decides if our bill will pass or will even come to a vote in the Senate. We're going to be putting pressure on her to move this along. And then in September, we are marching from Lancaster to Harrisburg, like Frank mentioned. It's going to be the September 13th through the 15th. 3 days, 35 miles. We're going to have food and housing and vehicle support. And we're going to be marching to pass our bill and to make Pennsylvania less corrupt here with our whole slate of policies that Frank was talking about at the beginning. And then it'll be followed by 2 days of direct action in the Capitol. So yeah, please join our Slack. I think that that link should also be in the chat as well. Yes, if anybody has anything that they'd like to go back to, or if they would like to join us for research, be more than happy to have you or to show you anything more, especially in this more in-depth corporate research. But I also want to be mindful of people's time here, given that it's 8:02. So if you'd like to stay on, we'd be happy to have you. But otherwise, I think that can conclude our Research Your Legislators event. I'll also put you can Slack us, and you can also send me a message if you have any questions. I'll put my email in the chat as well.